Hello and welcome, my friends. It is I, Jaffa. Today's episode is going to be a Grindy Soapbox. The video content will not have anything to do with the audio. As promised, this Grindy Soapbox is going to be about bullies and bullying. So let's get started. A few days after my last recording, I saw a tweet out on, Twitter, that said, well, I don't even know, I can't even say this without getting a little bit emotional. The tweet is from a guy who calls himself Jumbo, but his tweet address is at Smellin' Nerds. SMELLENNERDS. And Smellin' Nerds, well, okay, he has the right to his opinion, but this comment made me shake. He asked the question, why does Emma Blackery exist? Now, for those who do not know, Emma Blackery is a fellow YouTube content creator. She is a young gal that she started up a YouTube channel while living with her parents. She has a constantly changing hairstyle. She's a game reviewer. She has a good sense of humor. She does have a little bit of a mouth on her. And she does say some things that offend people. So, in fact, if you do research her, probably the number one video that you're going to see is where she has a ukulele and is singing Fuck You Google Plus. So, yeah, if you research that, that's probably the one you're going to see. She's done several joint episodes with Dan Nerdcube Hardcastle, and I think that she is just simply funny. I like watching her, but this comment really disturbs me. Bullies come in all styles. This is definitely a bully. Because when you analyze what was said, why does Emma Blackery exist? Okay, first off, humans exist. So this is trying to imply that Emma Blackery is subhuman. Animals exist. This is trying to imply that Emma Blackery is sub-animal. Fungus and viruses exist. So she is not even a valid form of life on this planet. In fact, matter exists. Smellin' Nerds is trying to state that she has no matter. She does not matter at all in the universe. Oh my God, what gives anyone on this planet the right to say that about any other person on this planet? That is absolutely ridiculous. Bullies have a special place in my heart because when I grew up, I was bullied. I was tormented. I had bullies from, I think I was fourth grade on up until I graduated high school. Well, no. Well, that goes into another story. I was in fourth grade, and finally, one time I decided to stand up to a bully. Now, this bully, he beat me up. He caused me to have cracked ribs, black eyes, broken nose. Anytime that someone looked at me for the next several weeks, they knew what had happened. They had heard the stories. But because I stood up to him and refused to back down, even though when I was shaking in fear, a former bully named Derek stepped in and said, "Do you want to end? Do you want this to be over?" And I was shaking in fear. I wanted it so bad to be over. I had taken enough of a beating, but I refused. I looked Derek square in the eye, and then I turned back to the guy that just beat the crap out of me and clenched my fist again. Well, at that point, Derek stepped in. He did what all of us should be doing. He stepped in and said, "It's over. The fight is over." Now, the guy that I was fighting against, he wasn't going to go against Derek. Derek was a member of the football team and had 5 or 6 other members of the football team in the room with him. So the guy I was fighting, he knew that the fight was over at that point. I was so grateful for Derek at that point that I almost broke down. I actually physically needed help leaving the room. But after that, because of that fight, Derek and the other members of the football team actually gave me respect. I stood up to someone and refused to back down, even though I was literally bleeding all over the place. So I got great respect. I wasn't bullied again for 2 more years. A guy moved in from out of town, and he started up bullying. I gave him the benefit of the doubt. He's a new guy. And finally, after a month or 2, I decided to have enough. I stood up to him, and it wasn't a bloody mess, but I let him know bullies were not allowed. And he and I became friends. Not good friends. We fell apart, obviously, after school was over. But he and I became friends during the school year. And I spent the rest of my time in school not having tormentors. No one was bullying me. It was absolutely great. Because I stood up to 2 individuals, I didn't have to be bullied anymore. Well, there are a lot of YouTube commenters who tried to stand up to bullies. There's Mumbo Jumbo, who he got personally hurt when he was doing a build, and someone said that his build was just crap. It looked ugly. He's trying his best. He's sharing his joy of playing a game with you, and then you turn around and attack him like that? That's ridiculous. And then Dan Hardcastle, that I mention quite often because, quite frankly, he is my favorite YouTuber, myself included. Dan is my favorite YouTuber. Check him out on NerdCubed. He turned comments off, and someone hopped on his subreddit screaming at him that he is denying them their freedom of speech by turning off the YouTube comments. Oh my God. Dan isn't preventing you from hopping onto YouTube and putting your freedom of speech out there in YouTube videos. He's not preventing you from doing that. He is saying, I don't want comments, negative comments, in this video. Because that's what the comment section does. It allows positive feedback and negative feedback, and Dan chose not to have feedback on his videos. He has a subreddit. He has other ways of getting in touch with him. You can follow him on Twitter. You can send him messages on Twitter. Yeah, there's other ways of getting in touch with him. You do not have to use YouTube comments. He is not denying you shit. And to state that he is denying you your freedom of speech, first off, that's an American thing. Freedom of speech is kind of growing around the world, but it was not, it's still in many countries not allowed. So to you saying, oh, well, I have freedom of speech, yes, you may have freedom of speech, but that does not guarantee that you have freedom of speech. You're on the internet. It's a global stage. Your rules to your local region don't apply. So get off that little bandwagon. Stop trying to bully people into believing the same thing that you believe. I am an equalitist. I believe everyone should be treated equal regardless of their race, their gender, their economic status. An equalitist, you don't hear about it. I mean, you hear about feminism, you hear about capitalism, you hear about all these isms out on the news channels, but you never hear about an equalitist. An equalitist likes the middle of the road. A lot of people say that the middle of the road is the best place to get hit by a car. I do actually disagree. If you've been on a superhighway, you know that there's enough space in the middle of the road that cars are not hitting one another. So, yeah, I like the middle of the road. I'm an equalitist. Simply put, that means that pay or rewards should not be based on gender, such as a man working 40 hours a week at a production company should earn the exact same amount of money as a woman who's working side by side with him. Now, yes, there may be tenure that is in there. So if she's worked there longer, she should get the more money, that kind of thing. That's the equalitist viewpoint, is that one should not have a unreasonable advantage over another. A good example of this is comparing Bill Gates, a multi-billionaire with a B, against a sports figure who is a multi-millionaire with an M. Bill Gates obviously makes more money. So when they go to hotels, Bill Gates does not get comped his room. The hotel makes him pay for his room just like if you and I were to go to that same motel. The reason is simply because we don't draw in extra people. We don't draw in people who are fans and follow this person religiously. Bill Gates doesn't have an entourage following him all the time. You take a sports figure and you take him to that same hotel. They're going to give him the room for free. They're going to comp him the room. Why? Because all of his entourage needs rooms. And they will be renting out all of the other rooms. All of his fandom will be renting out other rooms. People years later will be going to that motel, that hotel, to stay where that sports figure stayed. And so they give it to him for free. If you and I, and I'm assuming that you're middle class as well as I am, go to a hotel, will we be comped? Not at all. For the exact same reason. We don't draw in people. So if we can barely afford to go out to that hotel, why does this guy making millions of dollars not have to pay for his own room? The equalitist in me just screams about this. Yeah, I mean, why are sports people getting paid that much money to get a injury out on a sports field where our soldiers who are literally taking bullets and dying for us are getting paid the equivalent of below minimum wage, below federal minimum wage? These guys are out there 24/7. They're putting their lives on the line. They are dying each and every day, and yet they earn less than you can by going down and flipping burgers at McDonald's. The equalitist in me screams at the injustice. I'm going to go ahead and stop that rant right now. Back to bullies. I think I've said everything that I wanted to say. I mean, I talked about Emma. I've talked about Mumbo Jumbo. I've talked about Dan Nerdcube. And I've talked about that's why my comments are turned off on this video. Unless I make a mistake, comments will never be turned on my videos. And as soon as I get a notice that someone has commented on a video, I'm going back and I'm turning them back off. Because I don't want anyone using my video as a medium to bully any other person. It is not right. It is not fair. And no one should have to put up with it. So, as Derek did for me, and I thank you, Derek, wherever you are at, but as Derek did for me, I am doing for all other people who want to comment on my videos. I am going to stand in the gap and say, no, I protect you. If you want to make a comment to me, I've provided my email address, and I certainly welcome any comments that you have. If you want to try and bully me using my email address, prepare for the recycle bin, because you're getting deleted. I just simply will not put up with any type of bullying. I'm not that type of person, and I will stand in the gap. I will stand in the way of you bullying anybody else. So, wow, I have gone way, way further than I wanted to here, but this is what the Grindy Soapbox is all about. Sharing my cares, concerns, my feelings, my emotions. This is a Grindy Soapbox. But for right now, and always, my friends, may peace find you well.